What options are there for companies that cannot pay HMRC liability? Well, I'm going to, in this video, discuss two options. One is a time to pay arrangement and one is a CVA. So the time to pay arrangement is an agreement with HMRC and the company to pay off the liability that's accrued on a monthly basis. Now, directors can negotiate a time to pay arrangement with HMRC themselves, or they can choose to instruct someone like myself, an insolvency practitioner, to act on the company's behalf and enter into negotiations with HMRC. Most commonly what we see is that directors have tried to enter into a time to pay arrangement with HMRC. They've either just rejected it or they've accepted it and then the company's struggling to repay it and then they're a little bit trapped, and that's when they bring me in. So essentially with a time to pay arrangement, we look at the company's financial position and we draft cash flow projections so that we can say to HMRC on the company's behalf that I'm a licensed insolvency practitioner, I've reviewed the company's financial records and we've carried out cash flow projections, and the company can make the reasonable cost of X amount and pay that over to HMRC each month. Now, sometimes this can be lower than what the directors had previously offered, and it gets accepted. And that's because HMRC sometimes don't trust the directors because they are naturally acting out of despair and desperation and are offering more than the company can actually make and stick to, and HMRC knows that. Whereas where we come in, we've got the cash flow forecast, we've got the financial information, so we can prove that the company will stick to it. And so that's why we can sometimes have a lower arrangement with HMRC, which is better for the company, but it's also better for HMRC because you will stick to it then, rather than offering a ridiculous amount, making one or two payments, messing everyone about, and then the goodwill goes with HMRC. So we look at that and we negotiate with HMRC. And what we also do is we explain what the options are to the company, which might be, say, liquidation, where HMRC won't get as much or anything at all. So essentially what we can say to them is, look, this is what the company can comfortably afford, it's X amount and you're, over X period, but if you don't accept it, the company will go into liquidation and HMRC may get hardly anything back or nothing at all, and then they can see that it's it's the better option. And I think as well, instructing us rather than the director doing it themselves, is it takes away that stress, because the feedback we're receiving from directors is that HMRC they're not commercial in what they're being offered, so the directors can be offering what they can reasonably afford and what's realistic, and sometimes HMRC will say, no, we want X amount, and the company just can't make that amount of money and repay it, and it's just ridiculous, and they're just not seeing the position of the company and what's reasonable. And then also they are not reliable in their response. They are not consistent whatsoever, is the feedback we're receiving. I've even heard of a few stories of directors calling, not getting the answer they want, hanging up, waiting a little while, calling back, getting a different person, and then getting the answer they want, which is obviously just ridiculous. And it can be very, very frustrating for directors, and we can take that stress away from them and handle it on behalf of the company. And it's not that costly. I mean, we can do time to pay arrangements on behalf of the company for from £1,000. So it's not that costly, and we really can help, and HMRC like the fact that a licensed insolvency practitioner is getting involved and looking at it from an independent point of view to some degree. Although we're acting on behalf of the company, we are independent, and we wouldn't put something unrealistic in front of HMRC. So that's one option that we can consider. The other option, as I mentioned, is a CVA, which is a Company Voluntary Arrangement. Now, this is a repayment plan, like the time to pay arrangement is, but it's much more structured. It's a legal process. The proposals, what you're proposing to pay, is filed at court, and it can also include anyone else that you owe money to. Now, once we propose a CVA to HMRC. It's actually dealt with by their CVA department, who's dedicated to CVAs, and HMRC have a list of requirements, so we make sure that the proposal is compliant with what HMRC needs, and they review it and accept it, and it is a bigger procedure, it's costly, and it requires a lot of work. But when the time to pay arrangement isn't working, and there's other creditors involved, but you want the company to survive because you know the business model is there and there's monthly monies that you can pay towards the liability, then this is something that you need to consider. So those are the two options for HMRC in repaying their liability. And then of course there are other options such as liquidation or pre-pack, where you sell it on to another entity that you may also own. So there are lots of options, but what I would say is that if you are struggling with HMRC, you're not getting anywhere with the negotiations, or you're not too sure how to deal with HMRC, then just give us a call. Okay, thank you.